Hello and welcome again. Now we will moving forward toward our questions that will be actually we'll be talking about this. We have discussed this in previous section. Now let's go to the question number 37. That is a 27-year-old woman after returning home from her honeymoon has developed urinary frequency, dysuria, urgency. Her urine is glossy, bloody, which are the data most likely to define the causative agent. So let's talk about some of the point you have to understand over here. They are talking about a 27-year-old woman. So let me give you some of the point. So this is the 27-year-old woman. So this is the young woman, sexually active female, returning home from honeymoon. Obviously they have the sexual enjoyment, develop urinary frequency, dysuria and urgency. So this is definitely a urinary tract infection during her this honeymoon trip, her urine is glossy, bloody. This is little bit pointing towards one of the severe infection. Which lab data are most likely to define the causative agent? So now the causative agent, the most common causative agent for any urinary tract infection is Escherichia coli. If they are talking about the sexually active female, the second common cause is the Staphylococcus saprophyticus. Now we need to understand, we need to have our answer within these two bacteria. So it is a gram-negative diplococci. They are talking about gram-negative, so they can be even talking about this Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Gonorrhea. So they are also talking about this gram-negative, but we are talking about the most common cause of urinary tract infection in the female, and that is the E. coli. We know that. So let's find out. This is a gram-negative diplococci, which is oxidase positive but does not ferment maltose. This is Neisseria gonorrhoeae. We are not related to this. Gram-positive coccus, which is catalase positive and coagulase negative. They are talking about Staphylococcus saprophyticus. This may be one of your answer. Okay. An aptoxin resistant catalase negative gram-positive coccus. This is Streptococcus viridans. We are not related to that. A gram-positive bacilli grow on the low oxidation reduction potential. They are talking about this Clostridium species or saying anaerobic organism. Another is a gram-negative bacteria capable of reducing nitrates to nitrites, and this is the characteristic feature. This gram-negative bacteria capable of reducing nitrate to nitrite. This reducing nitrate to nitrite is the feature of all your Enterobacteriaceae, including Escherichia coli. So the most common cause of your diagnosis is E. coli, and so the answer should be E. coli. Although B is a probable answer, but since you have the most common organism, and that is the E. coli, so you have to take the most appropriate answer. The E. coli, if there is a E. coli, they have mentioning about the Escherichia coli, then you can't pick up this organism that causes Staphylococcus saprophyticus. Although saprophyticus is the second most common, the most common is the young sexually active female, but the most common is Escherichia coli. So you should not get confused when the E. coli is there, then you should not pick the Staphylococcus saprophyticus. Although Staphylococcus saprophyticus is responsible for urinary tract infection in a female, sexually active female, mainly cause honeymoon cystitis. So your answer is actually which one? The E. coli. That is the answer. Okay, let's move forward and go to another question, and that is the 2 days after eating a meal that include home canned beans. So there is the canned bean. So let me get to the point. So we have now home canned bean. Okay, these people develop various degree of visual problem, and including double vision and difficult focusing. So there is talking about some of the features, some of the bacterial infection that has caused the patient developing this diplopia or say difficult visual problem. And if you remember, these are the feature of your botulism. So if you get a botulinum toxin, then there will be flaccid paralysis and your muscle weakness, and you develop this visual problem. Describing the gram reaction of the organism most likely to be isolated leftover beans. So if you test the leftover bean and you isolate the organism, and what will be the characteristic finding, which organism it is, and then you describe this gram positive, gram negative, or their characteristics. The lab finding which will be used to identify. So this is obviously your Clostridium botulinum, which is an anaerobic organism, gram-positive anaerobic organism. Let's find over here. Gram-positive coccus, which is catalase positive. This is not related to coccus. Gram-positive aerobic bacilli, which is sporulate. Gram-positive coccus, which is catalase negative and of generation. Gram-positive bacilli grown on the low oxidation reduction potential. So we are talking about the Clostridium botulinum. This is a gram-positive anaerobic organism. So they will not mention anaerobic, they will say low oxidation reduction medium, and that means anaerobic organism. So there is less oxygen present, absent of oxygen or low oxygen. That is gram-positive bacilli, that is low oxidation reduction medium, and that is Clostridium botulinum. And the characteristic feature of your various this visual problem is of Clostridium botulinum. Let's move to the another question. Is a 16-year-old has pneumonia with a dry hacking cough. Okay, first when you remember this, some of the few terms like hacking cough, so you have to understand this part. This is the dry and hacking cough. So they are talking about nothing productive. So this is not the suppurative bacterial infection. This is something atypical pneumonia. And if you remember the atypical pneumonia with the hacking cough, then let me take you to the your USMLE Step 1 2021 Microbiology book. This is the step 1. So while revising, you know, atypical pneumonia was caused by some of the organism like Mycoplasma, then Rickets. Mainly Mycoplasma pneumonia was the responsible organism. So let me take over there to you. Syphilis Diagnosis, Gardnerella, Chlamydia is also one of the cause of atypical pneumonia, and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. That's the Mycoplasma pneumonia. And this Mycoplasma pneumonia is called the atypical pneumonia or walking pneumonia. They cause incidence, onset, headache, non-productive, cough, patchy or diffuse interstitial fibrillate or macular rash, occurrent frequently in the 30 years old, outbreak in the medullary recurrent. And one of the main feature of this organism is that they cause you the hacking cough because of the toxin. They damage our cilia, and that cause to there is a necrosis, and that leads to the hacking cough. So Mycoplasma pneumonia, if there is a hacking cough, dry and hacking cough, you should remember about this Mycoplasma pneumonia. And obviously they can also lead to the Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and typically in children and adolescents they have cold agglutination positive, you know that. So we'll use this knowledge. So this is pneumonia with a dry hacking cough. The X-ray pattern shows the light diffuse infiltrate pattern. The most likely organism producing this symptom is Mycoplasma pneumonia. So Mycoplasma pneumonia, what are the features? It is a non-gram staining bacteria required sterile. Yes, this was the one of the feature of your Mycoplasma pneumonia. Let's see other option. The bacillus swaying granula when stained with the methylene blue, no. Bacillus sensitive, catalase negative, gram positive coccus, no. Coagulase positive, gram positive. We are not related to gram positive. This is gram positive bacilli. This is nothing related to this. This was the Mycoplasma pneumonia, which doesn't have cell wall, so this is not a gram staining thing. Since they are not gram staining, so your answer will be a non-gram staining bacteria requiring sterile, because Mycoplasma contain high cholesterol in their cell membrane, but they cannot synthesize this, so they could require sterile for the growth. Okay, moving forward, another question. A 7-day-old infant present to the ER with fever, poor feeding, bulging frontally. So there are the features. You see, there is this is the child which came to the ER with fever and bulging frontally. So there is an increased intracranial pressure. So since there is an increased intracranial pressure, this indicates there is the feature of meningitis. So if there is a increased intracranial pressure, that is increased CSF pressure, that is due to the meningitis. And meningitis, you should think about, since there is a fever, there is a meningitis in young. This is the young infant, actually 7-day infant. So infant, there are a lot of differential diagnosis, like the most common organism is this Streptococcus agalacti. Then there was the E. coli, Listeria monocytogenes. These are the organism there can be Streptococcus this Neisseria meningitidis, Streptococcus pneumoniae, but they are less common. So the most common is Streptococcus agalacti. Then on the bacilli side, this will be the Listeria monocytogenes, E. coli, and then come the other. So they are thinking about as infant with meningitis. During physical examination, C being convulsed, so there is a meningitis has been flare up. A gram stain of the CSF reveal gram positive rods. Now you have to find in your diagnosis then we are talking about the gram-positive rods that is causing the meningitis. And in gram-positive rod that can lead to meningitis is, you know, the Listeria monocytogenes. Although gram-positive cocci is actually Streptococcus agalacti that is responsible for most of the inborn neonatal sepsis, or say inborn meningitis, newborn meningitis. So since they are not talking about the gram-positive cocci, if there is a cocci, then obviously their answer is Streptococcus agalacti. But since there is a gram-positive rods, this rods is and gram-positive, that is also important. So Escherichia coli, this is gram-negative, Haemophilus influenzae, gram-negative, Listeria monocytogenes, gram-positive, Neisseria meningitis, gram-negative cocci, Streptococcus agalacti, gram-positive but cocci. So rods, that is only the answer is Listeria monocytogenes, and your answer is correct. So hope you have understood this question as well. Let's move forward again. So a 55-year-old women who had rheumatic heart disease. Now there is a rheumatic heart disease replaced with a prosthetic heart valve. There is a prosthetic heart valve, rheumatic heart disease. Within a 55 years old woman, 6 blood culture became positive after 3 days of incubation. So there is a rheumatic heart disease with positive blood culture, so infective endocarditis is there. Now what is the organism? They are telling you the organism, they will lead to the organism. So the organism is optocin resistant, catalase negative, gram positive cocci, that was alpha hemolytic. So on the basis of this 4 points you have to identify your organism. So this is a gram positive, that is alpha hemolytic. Also they are catalase negative, so they will go to the Streptococcus group. Staphylococcus is out, Strepto is in, and they are optocin resistant. So this feature, let me take you to the step 1 into microbiological section where we can revise this. Actually, if you know your step 1 all of the information, then you can actually deal all of the question that is present in the maximum question you can do. You cannot be 100%, or we cannot deal all the 100% question, but 90% of the question will be from your this is step 1 microbiology. Step 1 all subject, mainly microbiology, this will be enough for 80 to 90%. So this is a gram positive cocci that is catalase negative, and they are saying alpha hemolytic. So we are talking about this or Streptococcus viridans, Streptococcus pneumonia. Among that they are saying this is optocin resistant, so it will leads to the viridans group of Streptococci. So this is the answer. So they are gram positive, that is catalase negative, leads to the gram positive, catalase negative, Streptococcus. Among Streptococcus, they are giving one more point. This is the catalase negative, and there was alpha hemolytic. So we are talking about alpha hemolytic. Okay, alpha hemolytic is this Streptococcus pneumonia and viridans group of Streptococci. And again they will give you information that will leads to differences between them. That is optocin resistant. So optocin resistant is, which one is the optocin resistant? And the optocin sensitive Streptococcus pneumonia, resistant is viridans group of Streptococci. So your answer is viridans group of Streptococci, and that is A. There will not be Pseudomonas, not be Serratia, not be Staphylococcus, or not a Streptococcus pneumonia. Streptococcus pneumonia and viridans, they can be separated by this optocin resistance. So you have infective endocarditis, and we know this mouth flora, this viridans group of Streptococci are usually responsible for infective endocarditis. So your diagnosis is Streptococcus viridans. Hope you have understood. Now moving forward, now there is a surgical patient develop an abdominal abscess. So they are talking about the intra-abdominal abscesses. So patient after surgery, there is an intra-abdominal abscess. So there is a gut handling in the gut. So you have to think about the, now they are talking about the gut flora. So gut flora has been causing these abscesses. You know what are the most common or most abundant organism, or maximum of your Enterobacteriaceae, the most prevalent, the more amount is present is anaerobic bacteroid species, Bacteroid fragilis. So anaerobic bacteria is there, then your Enterobacteriaceae are there. So these are the organisms there, and they are talking about the abdominal abscess. The abscess was drained and culture revealed a polymicrobial infection. So there is a mix of infection. So maximum of your gut flora has been spilled out, and they are causing the infection. The predominant organism is identified as gram-negative anaerobic rod. Now they are talking about giving you a specific, reach to the specific diagnosis. They are saying, okay, you have to think about the polymicrobial infection. The all gut flora has come out. They are developing the abscess. Among them, which one is the gram-negative anaerobic rod? And the most common, most prevalent, most abundant amount of this gram-negative anaerobic rod is Bacteroid fragilis. So which of the following is the likely causative agent? And you have to answer the A answer, that is the Bacteroid fragilis, which is the most common, more amount present in your gut. This is the anaerobic bacteria. E. coli is not anaerobic, Pseudomonas is not anaerobic, and this Staphylococcus and Staphylococcus, these both are the cocci. So these are the cocci, not your answer. These are the rods, but aerobic. So this is the question is asking gram negative rod but anaerobic. So only this is the anaerobic rod, and your answer is in this way. Also you can answer your question. Moving forward, we can reach to the another question, that is a 40 years old homeless man present to the ER. So there is a homeless 40-year middle-aged man that is homeless and we present to the emergency department, fever and night sweat. So this is in the homeless people developing fever and night sweat, coughing of blood. Now you can think fever, night sweat, coughing of blood, characteristic constitutional symptom they are coming with of your tuberculosis. So there is coughing of blood with fever, night sweat, and they have now narrow down to you that acid fast bacilli, which is the characteristic feature of your obviously tuberculosis. So there is acid fast bacilli identifying this sputum. So you have clear with the scenario. This is the tuberculosis patient, a middle-aged man, 40 years man, homeless man, developed this tuberculosis. Now, which of the following virulence factor allow the causative agent to inhibit the phagosome lysosome fusion? Now they haven't asked you about the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Actually they have asked you what is the mechanism where this Mycobacterium tuberculosis actually stop the fusion between the phagosome and lysosome. So for that you have to understand this is the cord factor that is responsible for the serpentine growth of the organism during the culture media. Then is this calcium dipluconate that is also related to this spore, peptidoglycan gram positive. This is not sulfatidides. Tuberculin is a surface protein. This sulfatidides is actually a protein that inhibit the fusion of this phagosome and lysosome. How? The sulfatidides is sulfolipids that break down into the sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid that cause decrease in pH. Acidic pH will be in environment. Since there is acidic pH, then this acidic pH will inhibit the fusion of this phagosome and lysosome. So phagosome prevent from the lysosome fusion due to this pH content. So acidic environment. Why this acidic environment has been made in this phagosome? The phagosome because this bacteria has sulfatidides, which is a sulfolipids, and this break down into the sulfuric acid, and that cause the acidic environment and then prevent this phagosome to fuse with the lysosome. So that is important. So this you have to understand the point. So your answer is sulfatidides. So this is the answer. Okay, so now we can move again forward, and then there is another question of women present to the gynecologist with a complaint of a malodorous vaginal discharge. So talking about when they are talking about the vaginal discharge, few things comes into your mind. Okay, they are talking about vaginal discharge, so there will be a this Gardenia vaginalis bacterial vaginosis, or it will be a this Candida infection, that is will be the whitish discharge, and there can be a Trichomonas infection, which is a greenish discharge as well, but that is due to the protozoa. Candida is due to the fungal infection, and this is the bacterial infection. So three infection.